So here's the thing. We come into this world and we're raised to be ordinary. We're raised to get along, we're raised to fit in, we're raised to be good citizens, we're raised to pay our bills, pay our taxes, do the right thing, be good people, and then we die. It's not enough for me. That's ordinary. If there's anything, if you haven't seen Pippin, go see Pippin. Because it's about extraordinary. It's about what extraordinary really means. And it doesn't mean about how much you accumulate and how much stuff you get and who you're better than and all of that. The story of Pippin and how they do it here on Broadway. I mean, I've been to Broadway many, many times, lived in this city for many years. I've never seen anything like it, what they do on that stage. It's just astonishing. And the glow, it's 2 days ago, I'm still feeling it. But it's just about this idea of, okay, this is ordinary, folks. And this is extraordinary. That's up here. And extraordinary comes from our concept of ourself, and so does ordinary. What is our concept of ourself? Our concept of ourself is everything that we believe to be true. And in order to be able to see everything that if you're living at an ordinary level of consciousness here, then you got there by everything that you believe to be true. In order to get from here to here, you have to literally change things that you have believed to be true. I am in a deep state of gratitude to every single one of you who have ever purchased anything that I have written or listened to any of the tapes or watched the shows that I have done and afforded me the opportunity to have such a glorious and wonderful life. I'm deeply grateful to all of you, and I mean that. And I express that a lot. I think gratitude is one of the things that I've learned to live with and express in virtually every hour of my waking moments. The last Friday night I was in Hana, which is on Maui. It means heaven in Hawaiian. And I was a part of a ceremony, an Ayahuasca ceremony, which is a fascinating new journey for me to experience some of the great love that is available to us, is given to us by God in some of the plants that we make all of our medicine off of, and all of our food and all of our shelter, and virtually everything comes from the plants. And these two plants down in Peru, when combined and drank, take you to heaven. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I went outside. This was a very spiritual ceremony. It was about 35 of us. And I went outside and I laid down on the grass for about 45 minutes. And in every direction that I looked, I could see 1 trillion stars. You look out this way, and it was, and I had this amazing thought of, where am I? Where are we? We're in one galaxy called the Milky Way, and it's one of billions of other galaxies which contain trillions of their own individual little sparks. And it's a universe that is completely and totally endless, moving at 17,000 miles an hour. Just this little planet that we're on. It was trying to find out not only where I am, but who I am. Because there's a deep, deep place within me where I know that who I am is not have anything to do with this physical world that we're in. That we're just all simply a little parentheses in eternity. We come into this world, we leave this world, and it happens in a second. and time is something that is just absolutely endless. And I haven't been able to get past it. I haven't gotten it out of my head yet, that the concept of infinity. When I was about 4 years old, I lived in an orphanage until I was 10. And it was out in Mount Clemens, Michigan. And my brother David and I were together throughout all of this. And I didn't get to meet my oldest brother, Jim, until 1950, when I was 10 years old. And when my mother reunited our family, because my father had just walked out and abandoned our family. And so it was World War II. I was 4, maybe 5 years old. And we were sitting on the step at this home at 231 Town Hall Road, where there were some 55 of us living. And Mrs. Scarf ran this place. It was a place where people came because there was just no other way. My mother had 3 little boys under the age of 4, and she worked at Kresge's on the east side of Detroit, making $17 a week. And my father had just abandoned her and us. He was in jail for a good part of his life. And Mrs. Scarf came out to talk to David and I and all the rest of the children who were running all over the place. And she had 2 bananas. I don't even know why I'm telling this, but but I know that God delivers all the speeches and writes all the books, and so I'm doing what I'm told to do, and I go where I'm sent. I say what I'm told to say. And she handed each of us a banana, and I could remember peeling this banana, and Dave doing the same, and she said to us with tears in her eyes, "Mr. Scarf died this morning." And it didn't mean anything to me because I had no idea about death, what it meant. I had never even heard the concept. So my first thought was, I just said, "When will he be back?" And she said, "Never." Okay? So we had our bedroom where we were there was about maybe 12 of us in this room, and we had bunk beds that went right up to the ceiling on each wall of the room. And I had the very top bunk, and I climbed up, laid down on the bed. I was about this far from the ceiling, and I laid there, and I tried to contemplate never. I'd like you to do that right now. I'd like you to really try to come to grips with this whole concept of infinity. William Blake once said that if the doors to perception were cleansed, man would finally see things as they really are, infinite. Now, Aldous Huxley took that line from William Blake and wrote a book about it called The Doors of Perception. And Jim Morrison took that term, that phrase, and named his band The Doors from that. And I have such a clear awareness of that now that I didn't have even a week ago. As I laid there on the grass in Hana, on the other side of where I live in Maui, if you've ever taken the road to Hana, you know what that's like. It's just, and looking at this infinite universe and having a recognition that all of this stuff that we believe, all of our problems, all of our struggles, all of the things that we just put so much attention on and worry about and get all upset about are on this tiny little speck amongst trillions and trillions and trillions, an infinite number. The concept of infinity just I can remember lying there on that bed and looking up at that ceiling and thinking, forever? Forever? Not 100 years, not 1,000,000 years, I can even wait 1,000,000,000 years if I have to, as long as I know there's something on the other side. And I want you to contemplate that and think about this idea of infinity, because the essence of who you are is infinite, and your soul inside of you is, and it is capable of manifesting and attracting and creating virtually anything if you can get and understand that question. That, I taught philosophy 4 years at the university and studied it, and it's been just a major part of my life to look at these ideas. And all of the great philosophers, they all attempt to answer the same simple question: who am I? Truly, who am I? Am I, my teacher in India, Nisargadatta Maharaj, when he was asked the question, what is real, Master, what is real? His response was always, that is real, which never changes. The only thing that is real is the eternal. Anything else that you attempt to call real, the second that you get it, if it's changing, it's something else. Like, I have a picture of myself when I was 21 years old on the wall in my home. And I look at that picture, and then I look at myself. And I can't find one cell that is inside of me right now that was in that picture. Every single cell that was in that picture. And yet, when I was 21 years of age, I really and truly thought that was me. That's who I am. And then when I was 22, I thought that's who I am. And when I was 30, and when I was 7, and you get a hold of it, and then you start to realize that the only thing that's real is the deathless and the birthless part of you. And that's what this talk this morning is devoted to helping you to come to grips with it, because I gotta get some water here. Because once you come to grips with your infinite self, there's absolutely nothing in this physical world that can get to you again, or anyone or anything. You just have this knowing that who I am is so perfect and so grand. And there's a part of me and a part of every one of us that's not just personal, it's impersonal. It's in every one of us. We don't have any roses today, but the great poet Rumi, and you'll hear a lot of poetry today, because I'm a poet in many ways. I write a lot of poetry and I read a lot of poetry. And the great Rumi, from the 13th century, said that what was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest when I met you. And he was speaking about God. When he finally had an awareness of the infinity of the universe, he said, something opens those roses. It's the same something that grows your fingernails. I used to say grows your hair, but I lost out on that one. Although the details just change. I can now grow it in my ears, my nose, my shoulders. But and Anais Nin, the famous French writer, beautiful lady, said, and the day came when the risk of remaining tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And when you understand your impersonal self, I'm writing about it now, and I'll tell you a little more about what I'm writing, but before I do that, I went to a play the night before last on Broadway called Pippin. Yeah. The two producers of that show are sitting right there in the front row. And gave complimentary tickets to my daughter, Sky, and I, and we watched Pippin. If you haven't seen this thing on Broadway, it's just astonishing. And the whole message of Pippin, and to say nothing of what goes on that stage, you're just blown away at the things that human beings are capable of doing on a stage this far from my face. And afterwards, I had a chance to meet with the entire cast and sign autographs, and God, I've become a rock star here in New York. I never asked for it, but everywhere I go now, people are stopping me. What a great message. I lived here in New York, many of you know. I taught at St. John's University for 7 years before many of you were born, 1971 to 1977. And I got a phone call from somebody else who performs on Broadway last week or 10 days ago, whatever it was. And, well, before I tell you about it, I just like to show you a little clip of something and then have them come up here and talk for a few minutes with me. So, Brian in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring up to the stage the first African-American to sing on Broadway, The Phantom, and Sierra Vargas, who sang there with him. Come on up. I want to have him talk to you for a minute. They didn't know I was doing this. The Phantom of the Opera. This is Sierra Vargas, and this is Norm Lewis, two of the most incredible singers. And I have a mic right here. Maybe you can share. Norm, why don't you tell them what you did.
Well, hi, everyone. This is one of my closest friends, and I was actually her dad in The Little Mermaid. So, yeah, she was the Little Mermaid on Broadway. We did Phantom of the Opera. When I got hired to do the show, Andrew Lloyd Webber himself called her and said, "Would you be his Christine coming into the show?" And she said yes, because she's done it before. And she came out of retirement, as she says, to come to do this with me and take this journey. And because I love her so much, giving her a gift, whether I give her a cookie or if I give her $1 million, she's so grateful. And I just didn't know what to give her, but I know that she loves Wayne Dyer. And she did an album, a live album. Go get it. It's at Amazon and CD.
Awakening.
Baby.
It's unbelievable.
It's great. And she did an album at 54 Below, and she dedicated that album to Wayne Dyer. So I said, let me see if I can get in touch with him just so he can call her and say, have a great last show. And that's what such a gracious man. He called and said, have a great show, and she tripped out.
All right, come on. Are you going to sing?
Am I? I just sang.
Wishing you were
sang.
somehow here. That song keeps going through my head over and over. 2 minutes, 1 minute.
1 minute of wishing.
Wishing you were somehow here again. Wishing you were somehow near. Sometimes it seemed if I just dreamed, somehow you'd be here. Wishing I could hear your voice again, knowing that I never would. Dreaming of you won't help me to do all that you dreamed I could.
Woo! That's so beautiful. You are so beautiful. Thank you. And thank you, Norm. God bless you, man.
God bless you.
Thank you both. I'm honored to have you both here. Wow, what a voice. She had no idea I was even going to ask that. Thank you, sweetheart. Woo! Let's go home. What? I mean, oh, I don't need this. Do I? That was so beautiful, Sierra. So beautiful. And Norm, if I had him do it, he would just blow you away too. His voice is just. You can go on YouTube and see that. But she has such a beautiful CD. It's called Awakening, and it's a concert. And she's talking about me throughout it. I just listened to it the other night. I listen to it all the time now. So. Oh, what I forgot to do, my goodness. My daughter, Tracy, who is right there, for many, many years, I had a daughter who was very successful but very unhappy. Her success was she was an executive at Best Buy out in Minneapolis. She did, made good money, had good benefits, did all kinds of wonderful things. But every day when we would talk on the phone, she would talk about something in her heart that she wanted to do. She was a designer. She wanted to create things. She's green. She's vegan. She wanted to create products that would make our planet better. And she would always say, I don't know if I can do it. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm not going to have the benefits. I don't know if I'm going to make enough money, take the risk. And always I would say, you have to listen to your heart. You have to come from a place inside of you that tells you this is why you're here. Because a part of the understanding infinity is an awareness that every burning desire that we have inside of us wasn't placed there by our personalities. It was placed there by the same intelligence that opens the roses. I often tell people tonight when you go to bed, just before you go to bed, I want you to look at your fingernails, and I want you to tell them not to grow. Tomorrow morning, I'm tired of having to clip them and go to, have things done. I don't want them to grow anymore. And you'll recognize that there's a power that is growing your fingernails, and that is beating your heart, and it's digesting your food. And it is placing desires into your wherever. And, these burning desires that are with you that you can't seem to ignore are something that are placed there by that same intelligence. And when you ignore it, you're really ignoring your dharma. You're ignoring what you're here for. And she's heard me. Tracy has been with me when I did my very first book tour back in 1976, organized by my dear friend Donna Gould right there. Stand up, Donna, and say hello to these people. Just wave. Come on, Donna. Without her, I wouldn't be up here today. I love you, Donna. Thank you. Thank you so much. She called the Phil Donahue Show at least 10,000 times, mentioning Wayne Dyer. 20,000. But ultimately was able to get me booked on it for 4 different times. But at any rate, Tracy decided to take the risk. She started her own company, making these bags that are made out of recycled water bottles on the inside. And Sierra, I asked her to bring one for you. It's purple. This is my favorite color. And I wanted you to have it. That's for you, sweetheart. God bless you. That's Tracy right there. And Tracy is here with her bags in the back, and I know every single one of you will want one. Daddy's helping his little girl. So there was a woman in Australia. Her name is Bronnie Ware. And she was a hospice nurse. And I have a great respect for hospice nurses because my mom passed away 2 years ago. And the last 10 days of her life, she was in hospice care. And these people are angels. They're just angels who come into the world and somehow feel that they want to serve and help people to make that crossover that is all of our destinies. Until you have a recognition that who you are is deathless and birthless, and you almost start to envy people who are there, who've made that transition. At any rate, her book is called the Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. So during her 1 year or so, it was 8 years, I believe, she interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people who were having their final days as human beings. And she would ask them the same question over and over again. What are your regrets? What do you regret? Do you have any regrets? And so on. And she then decided to write a book about it, and she looked at the top 5 regrets of the dying. And the number 1 regret of people who were making that transition was, I wish I would have had the courage to live the life that I knew I came here to live. And if you've seen The Shift, if you've seen my film The Shift, I talk in there about, thank you, yeah, I love that film. And my goal is to have 10 million people watch it. I don't care if they buy it, I just want people to watch it because I really believe that when enough people begin to align in a higher consciousness way, that's how we're going to make the shift. That's how we're going to change what's taking place on our planet and finally live what our source intended for all of us to live, from a place of love. So in The Shift, I talk about a great teacher in my life. His name was Leo Tolstoy, and he wrote some of the greatest books in Russia. And he wrote a book while living in Tsarist Russia, where religion was pretty much outlawed. He wrote a book called "The Kingdom of Heaven is Within," which I have. It's my bathroom book. I read from it virtually every day. And he also wrote a short story, and the short story is called "The Death of Ivan Ilyich." Now, it's not so short. It's a 157-page, but I read it when I was in the Navy when I was 19 years old. And it's the story of a man who was a judge in Moscow, And he lived his whole life with deep resentment. He resented mostly his wife and basically hated her. And his hate was directed towards her because he was a poet in his heart and wanted to be a poet. He wanted to write and experience, what poets do. And he every day would go to work when he was attorney, and then she pulled strings and got him into a judgeship and was sort of kind of controlling his life. And he was a commuter going back and forth doing something that he despised. And at the end of the story, he is lying there on his deathbed with his wife next to him, holding his hand. And he looks up into her eyes, and the last words of this story, which really struck me when I was 19 years old, on a ship on my way to Japan, the last words of the story were, as he looked into his wife's eyes, he said, what if my whole life has been wrong? And then he died. And I remember taking out a pad of paper and writing a note to myself. And the note said, Dear Wayne, don't die. With your music still inside you. Don't die with your music still inside you. Like, by that time, I had already written a novel. And I'd probably written 100 essays by that time. And when I was in high school, I had probably written several hundred book reviews for my friends. And they had to pay me 25 cents each. And I would guarantee a B or higher, or they didn't have to pay. Truly. We used to have to fill out these long manila sheets and how many books that we had read, and my friends weren't into reading books, but I was. And so my music was about writing, and my music was really about what I'm doing right here, right now, in this moment, because, I live on Maui, and people from New York come to Maui. It's not the other way around. We don't, but this is my music. This is something that, if I don't do it, I don't know that I could continue to live. It's that strong. This sense of, because on June the 26th of 2012, when my whole family was coming to Maui, I had told them all that I wasn't going to write anymore, that I had done as much writing as I wanted to do. And it's just too much pressure, and I had a very serious neck injury. That's why I sit when I talk now, and because I'm just sitting there and writing and writing and writing. Because I write everything by hand with a purple pen, and I put my arm on the table, and I let the energy come through my heart and onto the page. And I told my children and everyone that it just was too much. I just didn't want to take it anymore. And you have to, when you write a book, you have to take like 500 pages and fill them. Not just like a little paper for an English class, but 500 pages. And I write everything when I write. I do it all myself, and I do it all by hand. And it's like whatever research, I do that. And I get so immersed in what I'm doing, and it just takes over my life. So that was June the 26th. On June the 27th, I got up and I started writing. Because something inside of me was saying, if you look, I was 72 years old, as you look over your life, there have been so many things and people and events and circumstances that have turned it and twisted it and shifted it from where you were headed into, it's like U-turns and left turns and right turns, and all of a sudden something would show up, and it was just, and I just wanted, I guess before I left this earthly plane on this visit, I just wanted people to have an awareness that this isn't just something that's true for me, it's true for all of us. That same something that is moving the pieces around. You know, I was being interviewed by the New York Times, 15 years ago or so, and they are also at that same day they were interviewing Arthur Miller. So I had a chance to be in the same room with Arthur Miller. It was, and he was asked a question. I was over here and I was listening to them talking to him. This great playwright that I was just honored to meet. I mean, he's mostly well known for being married to Marilyn Monroe, but you know, The Death of a Salesman and The Crucible and so many of the great American plays that he wrote and created. Brilliant, brilliant man. And he was 88 years old. It was a year before he passed away. And they asked him, are you working on another play? And I loved his answer. I've never forgotten it. He said, I don't know, but I probably am. And, you know, that just really registered with me because that really sort of defines a big part of my life. That, I mean, I thought I was in control on June the 26th and that I was done with this whole thing. I'd written 42 books at that time. I certainly didn't have to sell any more books to prove myself and so on. And yet, there I was. And not only did I wake up the next day and write, but I wrote every single day. In fact, I have 2 places on Maui. Thank you again for the second one, as well as for the first one. And my kids come and they fill both of the places. So, you know, and they fill an airplane. I mean, they fill a 747 too, to tell you the truth. So I had to actually go out and rent a place at a very expensive rate. And my kids will tell you what it was like that summer. Because I just couldn't stop myself. There was something, it was just taking over, and it just was flowing out of me. Very much like what you heard when Sierra was up here singing. I mean, where does that come from? Where does that kind of talent and ability and awareness and so on? You can't go around and take credit for that. You just have to surrender and say, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Every time before I speak, when I'm about to be introduced, I go through the same ritual. I repeat a line from A Course in Miracles. And it says, if you knew who walked beside you at all times on this path that you have chosen, you could never experience fear or doubt again. If you knew that, if you absolutely had a knowing about that. And whenever I finish, when I walk off and go backstage, I ask people to just leave me alone for a few minutes. And because it's just a gift that was given to me. Even the quality of my voice. A lot of people say, oh, I just love to listen to your voice. It's very soothing and all of that. I say, I take no credit for that. I just open my mouth and this is what comes out. And so it's like being in that state of gratitude, having a knowing that you're never alone, that you're going to be guided, and a sense of gratitude. So what prompted me to do that was I was reading a book by a man named Rashad Field, who is a Sufi. And I love the Sufis. The Sufis' most famous line of the Sufis, if you don't have a temple in your heart, you'll never find your heart in a temple. You know, it's like it's what's in here. And a lot of what I'll be speaking about today is coming from here. It's not coming from here. Like I often did this with audiences years ago. I'd ask everybody in the audience, we can do it here, everybody, just point to yourself. Everybody, just point to yourself. You know, look around. There's nobody doing this. And you'd think you'd do this is the brain, and this is it, but we don't do that. Where do we point? We point to the heart. This is who we are. And when you study the heart, which I have done, the heart itself has a brain that is picking up signals from the universe even before this brain inside of our head does. The heart is an amazing instrument. Those of you who are cardiologists and working with heart patients and so on know it. I know about the heart, a great deal about it. So, and I was reading a book by Rashad Field. It was one of a trilogy of books. It was called To Know We Are Loved. And basically what he was saying in To Know We Are Loved is that that's basically where our peace will come from. Our peace lives within us when we know we are loved. And when we doubt whether we're loved, it's the source of anxiety, it's the source of stress, and it's the source of a lot more. A lot of things that will cause us, to live very unfulfilled lives. So in that book, To Know We Are Loved, there's a man, it's a true story, and it's a man who is dying, and he knows that he is dying. And people are talking to him, and this is what he says. And while I'm reading it, this is what prompted me to write this book. I can see clearly now. Because what I did is I just started with the very beginning, and I just began to just tell the stories, the significant things that were taking place in my life. But as you get to a certain point and you look back at those stories, at the things, and you can all do this, you start to have an awareness that there was something, the same thing that prompted Arthur Miller to say, I don't know, but I probably am. This awareness that this divine intelligence, this invisibleness that is moving the pieces around, is always working in your heart. The only problem is that we let go of it. We forget it. I came across I wrote something out. I just love this because one of my daughters is pregnant right now, and my daughter Serena, and I just jotted this down last night. It said, during childbirth, it is clear that all of life is accomplished by an unseen doer who can never be located. Many of you know that back in 2005, when I turned 65, I gave up everything I had, everything physical. I gave up my home. I gave up all my clothes. I let go of all of the records and so on, and all the furniture. And I called my secretary, Maya, who's been with me for 37 years now. She's here in the back of the room. I told her to get rid of everything. I'm going to Maui, and I'm going to do something that my friend Stuart Wilde, who passed away last May, asked me to do when he introduced me to Taoism. He said, if you're ever going to think anything about taking on religion, this is not religion. He said, but it's only got 81 pages. And in some of the pages, there's only 4 lines. He said, but it's the greatest teaching that's ever come down the pike. He said, and he did this very same thing when he was in his 30s. He was called and gave everything away to live a Taoist life. And some people call the Tao Te Ching, Tao, T-A-O. It means the great way. T-E means the virtue of in ancient Chinese. And Qing means book. So it's the book of living the virtue of the great way. And you have to get rid of your attachment to all of the stuff and the things that you own and just listen to your heart. And I decided to spend an entire year, 365 days, beginning January the 1st, 2006, and finishing on December the 31st, every single verse of the Tao Te Ching, I lived for 4 days. If you divide 4.5 into 365, you get 81 verses. And that's how I lived that year. No traveling, no anything, just living the Tao and waking up at 3 o'clock every morning and understanding this idea that we're really not alone. I had this wonderful experience in 1989. I was able to be in the same room with the great Mother Teresa in Phoenix, Arizona. We were being interviewed on KTAR radio by my friend Bill McMahon. Not Bill McMahon. Pat McMahon. Pat, thank you, Pat. Are you here? And Mother Teresa, she was like maybe 80 pounds. And she was staying in Phoenix at a homeless shelter. She had been invited there, and they had one room in the new homeless shelter that had carpet on it and a bed, and they had it just all made up just special for her, and she wouldn't sleep on it. She wanted a homeless person, even though it wasn't even open yet. She said, "No, I don't want to sleep on this." And whenever Mother Teresa traveled and left her ashram in Calcutta, she would never eat food. She only drank water when she traveled. She wanted to feel inside what it was that the people that she was dedicating her life to serving, what they were feeling. And that was just her way of being. And Pat, who was Irish Catholic, Pat McMahon, so thrilled to have her there, his great hero. He was fawning all over her. It was embarrassing. And he said, "Is there anything I can do for you, Mother? Anything that I can do?" And she said, "No." She said, "I just came to talk on your radio station about the homeless shelter that was just built and where I stayed last night." And he said, but we have 50,000 watt station here, clear channel. I could put an ad out there and we could raise so much money for your ashram and the work that you're doing." And she said, tiny little person, tiny little voice. She said, "No," real thick accent. She was Albanian. She said, "I really don't want you to do a commercial for me. I just want to talk about the homeless shelter." And he said, he got down on his knees, literally, he's got the headphones on, and he said, "Isn't there anything that I can do for you?" And he was almost sobbing, and she said, she tapped him on the head. And she said, "There is one thing that you can do if you want to do something for me." She said, "Tomorrow morning, get up at 4 a.m. and go out onto the streets of Phoenix and find someone who's living there who believes that he's alone. And you convince him that he's not. That's what you can do for me." And Maya will tell you, some of my kids will tell you, for the next year or so, I did exactly that. I would get up at 3 a.m., whatever city I was in, and I would go out and walk on the streets and try to find someone who believed that they were alone and just befriend them. In fact, I brought some of them to some of my talks and would bring them up on stage. And I did it one time in Phoenix to someone who had no teeth and some dentists in the room, and everybody in the room would put pails up on the stage, and people donated, and I put in the rest, and we were able to take someone who I found on her way to donate some blood, so that she could be paid, so that she could have some food for her daughter. Like living the Tao, because the Tao Te Ching says something very important. It says, the Tao does nothing, but it leaves nothing undone. Now you think about that. When you think about what's growing your fingernails and what's opening those roses, what's keeping the planets in alignment, and what's growing the trees, and what's doing all of the things that are taking place, including every breath that you take in and every breath that you take out, and most importantly, every thought that you have, and every desire that you have, and particularly every burning desire that you have. That is, those things inside of you that just won't go away, no matter how much you try to ignore them or try to push them aside. Because so many people are living a dharma that was assigned to them by somebody else, usually their family. That's why I once said that your friends are really God's way of apologizing for your relatives. Okay, it's like because a friend is someone before whom you can think out loud, but that's not always so true in your family, who have this idea. You know, there's this wonderful song you'll hear later. It's called I Am Light. By the way, it's the name of my next book, I Am Light. And it's one of the words in there. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the brokenness inside. I am light. This morning at 4:30 a.m. until 6 for 90 minutes over at the hotel, I was doing the I am light meditation, just seeing light at the third eye and just getting so peaceful and just and knowing, you know, that this divine intelligence that's in everything, and if it's in everything, that means there's no place that it is not, which means that it has to be in you. It's what you are. And the minute that you think you're this thing and this is you and your individuality, you'll discover that there's something else at play. So, living the Tao, and I see that we had, I thought I saw one up here. Oh, there it is. Living the Tao. Who's that little girl right there? How old are you, sweetheart? 8? Can you come up here? Just walk over here. Not up on stage. Just walk over here, honey. What is your name? Say it again. Kamaya? Oh, you are so beautiful. What are you doing here in the morning on Saturday? Did you come here because you wanted to, or did someone make you come? You wanted to come? Oh, I love you so much. Would you like a copy of a very important book? And since you're 9 years old, my daughter Sage wrote a wonderful book about how to get rid of her bumps. That's yours. And that's yours as well. You just carry that around with you. Put it in your new purse. Wait a minute. What'd you say, honey? Sage is your babysitter? My daughter's your babysitter? Where are you, Sage? All the way in the back. Well, behave yourself back there. Thank you, sweetheart. That's so nice. God bless you for being here. You are just too cute. That's just not possible to be that cute. You can't have that much cuteness in one body. It's just not possible. So living the Tao was a very transformative time in my life, and I wrote an entire book about it. We did a public television special about it. I was directed to do that. I had no idea, even a year before, even 6 months before, that I was going to even do such a thing. And the intelligence that is in everything is something you have to stop and listen to and almost be courageous about and have your excitement about it. So this is what I was reading that prompted me to write this book. If we stop for a moment, it is possible to perceive a pattern in our lives. The motivators that have influenced us become much more obvious. We're able to see the unfolding from both ends at once. That's underlined. We are able to see the unfolding from both ends at once, coming into the present moment. But until we have got to a certain point of realization, this is not possible, because everything is still seen as a series of apparent causes and effects. We have this tendency to believe, that time is this linear process, and that this happens and that causes this to happen, and then this causes this to happen, and this is why my life is the way it is. It started out when I was this little boy, and then I did this, and I did this. But he says from both ends at once, because that little baby that is growing inside of my daughter's uterus right now, who has only been around for 3 or 4 months now, it already, in that little tiny speck of human protoplasm that began it, every single thing that it's ever going to need for the rest of it's already handled. It's already taken care of. So we're not only pulling things out of the past, but there's another kind of time, which is not chronological time, which is divine time, that goes this way. And that's a time that in which everything exists at once. And when this time crosses this time, at that intersection point, when you have an awareness that I am making choices, but they're already being made for me, it's like your wisdom teeth are in there. when you're born, you know, but they're not going to show up for 20 more years, so you're going to have to pull those out of the future. You're not pulling those out back here. It's already taken care of. They're out here somewhere. And you know what? There is no past, there is no future in this divine time that I'm speaking about. It's just all one. And trying to grasp that and understand that from our individual perspective of our egos is almost impossible. That's why you have to get out of that ego place and get to a place where you start to see that everything that's taking place in my life is being orchestrated by something that I will never be able to grasp with my mind. I got to get past my mind. So when I was 10 years old, my mom got our family all back together. And I was reunited with my oldest brother, who I hadn't known since I was just an infant, and my new stepfather, who was really my father in another body. Same guy, doing the same thing. Alcoholic, abusive, drank every single day. We had to sometimes fight this guy, my three of us jump on him so that he wouldn't be abusive to my mother. And I was in Detroit, on the east side of Detroit, and I was in a school called the Chester Arthur Elementary School. I was in the 4th grade. My teacher's name was Mrs. Engel. This is probably the 7th or 8th school that I had been in by that time. I was constantly moving around as a little boy. And every day in class, at the end of class, Mrs. Engels would read to us. And she would read something that I just became so fascinated with. And remember, I'm 10, and I had been an orphan for 10 years, and now I'm with my family, and for the first time. And one of the terrors that I had is that I was going to have to go back. I thought this was just sort of a dream, sort of an illusion. It wasn't that it was so terrible where I lived, but missing my mother was just really huge as a little boy. And Mrs. Ingalls would read, but there were days that she wouldn't read to us, and the days that she wouldn't read to us were the days when it was too noisy. So that was our punishment. You don't get to read, you've got to do your mathematics over again, or whatever it was that you had to do. So that was her punishment, withholding the reading of this incredible book that just was blowing me away every day. So I became the enforcer in the classroom, literally. And by that I meant if anybody talked out of line or didn't raise their hand or was just, I would just literally go over and say, knock it off, you know. I want to hear The Secret Garden. The Secret Garden, Mary Hodgkins. It was like, and basically what it was a story of an orphan, 10-year-old orphan girl named Mary, who had these two friends, Colin and Dickon, and one of them was just always upset and hurt and angry and so on, and the other one was just believing that inside of us we had this garden, and of course they did it metaphorically through this place that you could go into. But the book was really about the idea that inside each and every one of us there's a secret place, and when you go there and trust in it, you know, Herman Melville wrote about it in Moby Dick. For as this appalling ocean surrounds the verdant land, so in the soul of man lies one insular Tahiti, full of peace and joy, but encompassed by all of the horrors of the half-lived life. The half-lived life. The life that so many people choose because they're living out a dharma that was assigned to them by someone or something outside of them. But inside there's this calling. And then 3 years later, my stepfather was still with us. He stayed for about 4 years. On Tuesday nights in 1953, there was a very big-time comedian had a show called the Texaco Comedy Hour, and his name was Milton Berle. And Milton Berle was like everybody watched Milton Berle on Tuesday nights. It was Mr. Tuesday Night, Mr. Comedy. And, but we didn't watch Milton Berle in our home. We had a little black and white Admiral television, so really about this big around. We had to sometimes climb up on the roof. My brothers and I would climb up and move the antenna around so that we could have it come in. This little black and white television. And Tuesday nights, opposite, there were only 3 stations. And opposite that was a man who today I understand, this day, the 20th of September, is the 80-year anniversary of his ordination. His name was Bishop Fulton Sheen, who is about to become a saint in the Catholic Church. And I used to study Bishop Fulton Sheen when I was 11, 12, and 13 years of age. And I couldn't wait for that show. And guess what the name of the show was on Tuesday nights in, that was on national television? Life is Worth Living. It could be the subtitle to every one of the 44 books now that I have written. Because, by the way, not only did I write this book, but I've already written another one, and I'm working on another one. So much for my decision that I wasn't going to be doing any more writing. And I wasn't going to travel anymore either, by the way, and I was just going to, when you think that you're in charge of all of that, just kind of remember, that what Rumi said, whatever it was that opened, the roses was said to me here in my chest. So we would watch Life is Worth Living every Tuesday night. And I used to sit there and think, this guy's giving lectures on, and he was very funny and very interesting and exciting, and the messages that he had. And I used to go back to school at Marquette Elementary, because we transferred to another school, and talk about what was on Tuesday nights. And when the Emmy was awarded for that Tuesday night show, Milton Berle didn't get it. It was given to Bishop Fulton Sheen. He got the Emmy. And they asked Milton Berle, what did he think about that? And he said, well, he had better writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, I couldn't compete with that, So at least he was humble about it. But those kinds of stories, I could just go on and on. Both of those are I can see clearly now, and they're just sort of the beginning of it. And as I began to look at the course and the direction, the history of my life, it was always directed in this way. I was originally being trained to be a Jungian analyst, Carl Jung. Carl Jung passed away the year that I turned 12, in 1952. But I was studying Carl Jung, and Carl Jung, in fact, he had, this is one of his quotes. He said, from the beginning of my life, he said, I had a sense of destiny as though my life was assigned to me by fate and had to be fulfilled. This gave me an inner security, and though I could never prove it to myself, it proved itself to me. I didn't have this certainty. It had me. Now that was the guy that was so instrumental in my life, because one of the things that he said that I really want you to try to hear is, he said, at the same moment that you're a protagonist in your own life and you're making choices, at that very same moment, you're also the spear carrier or the extra in a much larger drama. He said, in essence, every single one of you are doomed to make choices. Now, just let that in. If you're doomed, you're obviously not making choices. And if you're making choices, you're obviously not doomed. But yet, this was what he said. So what I'd like to do is just take that and first of all look at your physical body and understand that in this incarnation, at this time, this is the body that you get. You're doomed. I got a Caucasian, 6'1" body with blue eyes, with all of the things that are taking place in it that I watch all the time and wonder what's next. What's it going to do next? What surprises it got for me next? And there's all kinds of them, all right? One day I find out, you got leukemia in there. I said, what the? I didn't ask for that. I didn't order that. And it's like, and then, a month later, I'm with John of God, who gave me this incredible healing crystal necklace and removed leukemia from my body. And I wrote about it in Wishes Fulfilled, and it's like, I had no idea. Very much like, right here in New York City, 1976, I was living out in Huntington, Long Island, and I'm driving into the university at Grand Central and Utopia Parkway, where I drove by the other day, and the same construction crew is there. Same cones. Same guys, only long white beard. Just been there since 76. True, Kennedy's airport's still the same. It's like, so I'm driving down the freeway, and I'm about to get tenure, which is like every college professor wants tenure. What could be better than that, right? That means that you have got a guaranteed job for the rest of your life. They can't take it away from you unless you join the NFL or something and do something horrible. Sorry. Pretty outrageous about that, but that it's coming to light, it's all part of the perfection of it all. We're changing our consciousness and not allowing those kinds of things to take place anymore without putting our attention on it. Yeah. And it's not any one person out there that's doing it. It's a shift. It's the shift. It's what the shift is about. So I'm driving my Volkswagen down the Long Island Expressway, and on my way to get tenure, and thinking about that. And the thought of getting tenure is like, that means I'm going to be in the same office, teaching the same classes, I remember I was on a show with Beverly Sills, the great opera singer, who had her own TV show back then. Remember, Donna? You probably booked me on that. And she had a little bracelet and with crystals, little things on it, and the letters IDTA were on it. And she was interviewing me, and I could, on the air, I asked her, IDTA, why are you wearing IDTA? I see that. She said, oh, that's just a reminder, because they were asking her, why did you leave at the height of your career, the New York Metropolitan Opera, to be, do a TV show and to be an administrator to do something else? And she said, oh, I did that already. IDTA, I already did that. And something pulled me over. Now, this same something is working in all of us. It's called your impersonal life, not your personal life, not your personality. Your personality doesn't even get to pick thoughts. You don't even know what a thought is, how to get a hold of one you can't see one, let alone a desire. These are things that are put there by the same intelligence that brought you here, and grows your fingernails. And I pulled over and I sat there, and whatever that was, it just overwhelmed me. And I said, I can't accept that tenure. I can't do this for the rest of my life. I've already been here 6 years. I've done this already. And yet, and it's what I talked about with Tracy and her, and Urban Junket and her purses and all of the things that she is doing, to do something about this planet that we live on and so on. And it was like a cloud almost. It was overwhelming, and I just knew I didn't call my wife, I didn't call my daughter, I didn't do anything. I drove right up to the university, parked my car outside, and I had my own parking place in New York. Can you imagine? And it was a place called Marillac Hall. And I walked up to the second floor, to Dean Sarah Fassenmeyer's. Amazing. This gives me memory again. You know, it's like I can remember every detail of my life. It's like, and I walked into Dr. Fassenmeyer's office and I resigned. I had written a book called Your Erroneous Zones, and I wanted to take it across the country and do the things. And pay, you know, Donna worked with me every day so beautifully. Love you so much. Thank you. And invested my own money and my own time, and took my daughter, and we went across the country. And you know, one of the great definitions of success was offered by Henry David Thoreau. You know, he said, if you advance confidently in the direction of your own dreams and endeavor to live the life which you have imagined, you will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. You have to let it chase you, that thing called success. Maslow taught me personally that self-actualizing people do not do what they do because of the outcome. They are detached from outcome. They do what they do because in their heart tells them, this is who I am. This is what I must express, and I'm independent of the good opinion of anyone else who offers their opinion to me. So, and that was a signature point in my life. Gave up tenure, a job for the rest of my life, gave up all of the guarantees, got the medical insurance, all of the things that come with but in here. And if you read I Can See Clearly Now, you're reading about someone that Thoreau said, notes all over the place, I was writing all kinds of things down, still haven't gotten to any of it yet. I want to live deep, said Thoreau. I want to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, and not when I come to die and discover that I have not lived at all. You know, that's a theme for me. It's a theme in here, and it's like coming to a place where you can trust in that, where you can get outside of your personality. So back to Carl Jung's quote, if you understand that at the same moment that you're making choices, you're also doomed. You're given this body, and this is the body that you were given. Now, yes, you're doomed, but you're also making choices. And the choices that you make determine what this body is going to be like. Like, you get to decide what you eat and how well you eat, and you get to decide whether you're going to exercise, and you get to decide whether you have discipline, and you know, all kinds of things that can take place in your life. I've made major decisions about this body, and I think I made them, and I didn't even make them at all. I mean, every day of my life now, I drink like 64 ounces of juice that is done from a Norwalk juicer. That is like $3,000 and 6,000 pounds, I think. I mean, this huge thing. And I didn't decide that I was going to do it. Somehow it came to me and said, this is what you are to do. It's so crazy even to tell you this, but I do a coffee enema every day. A coffee enema. I'm starting a franchise. Yeah. Starbucks. It's, yeah. Nothing says morning like Folgers in your butt. I don't know. What do you... I get so much abuse. I have no idea, because 3 years ago, a woman came to me with a coffee pot. This was a woman who had 11 children, and she was in her 57 years old. She looked like she was 35. She looked fantastic. And she was talking about the liver and giving me this whole talk about the liver, and the liver takes all the toxins out, and you can't do it through your stomach, and there's a portal vein, and it goes, and I looked at it, I said, I'm not putting coffee up my ass. I'm just not going to do that. That's just too crazy. This guy's going crazy. 3 years later, I'm with this doctor who was sent to me. He's a healer. He's someone I see every day. He's from New Zealand. His name's John Impey. He's just this brilliant man. He's not only is he a rolfer, but he's an osteopathic physician, and he lived in India for years. He lived with Rajneesh for a while, and down in brilliant man. And he's going around my body, and I have great faith in this guy. He's just beautifully connected to God. And he's feeling around. He said, now this is 3 years after the lady brought me coffee pot. She brought me probiotics. She brought me the coffee. She told me about all of this stuff, and I gave it all away. I said, I don't even want this in my house. I don't even drink coffee. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, ever. I don't drink stuff like that. So I just gave it all away. And he's going like this, and he said, Wayne, he said, your liver, is very stiff. And he said, every drop of blood that goes through your entire body also goes through your liver every 3 minutes. So if you could have your liver bathed in caffeine, he said, I think you should do coffee. And he said, I do one every day. And I've been doing one for 9 years. And he looks 20 years younger than he is. And now I'm doing coffee enemas. And I was like, did I decide this? All right. And so the choices that I can make about my body, when I was told I had leukemia, I didn't know what to do. And then Max Gerson comes into my life, and the Gerson method, and his daughter Charlotte Gerson comes into my life, and they talk about juicing and coffee enemas and so on. And all of a sudden, John of God and people like that show up in my life. And all of this is like, it's just this surrendering process. And what can you do with your body? And 2 years ago, my excitement was about being up in Halifax, Canada, and giving a talk up there. And the two people that had brought me up there, I looked at both of them, a man and a woman. They looked, I just couldn't even believe, Ann and Mark. I said, what are you guys doing? You look like 20 years younger than when I saw you the last time. We brought this guy up to give a talk. His name is Bill Davis. He wrote a book called Wheat Belly, and he said gluten, he said, is the real dangerous thing in our culture, and it's why so many people have trouble with weight right around their middle and so on. And he said, we just went gluten-free. And so how did they come into my life? And so now for 1.5 years, I've been gluten-free. And I would recommend, it's my excitement, I would recommend to any of you who have these symptoms, you exercise, you eat well, you do everything that you're supposed to do, and yet you're bloated and you're continuously, and you're gaining weight and you can't stop. And how many people have that symptomology in their life? It's like that unpleasantness. Just do me a favor, 30 days. Read Wheat Belly, read the first 100 pages of Wheat Belly, and go gluten-free for 30 days, 100% gluten-free for 30 days, and ask how you feel. My wife went on it, and she had 5 grand mal seizures and weekly mini seizures for the past 7-8 years. Hasn't had one seizure since she went gluten-free. And when you... what it does for depression, what it does for an endless number of things, just give it a shot, And it isn't me telling you this. If this resonates with you, because I don't think gluten-free is a fad any longer. I think we have to really look at what's going on with our food and genetically modified organisms particularly. GMO really stands for, this is my rant, it just takes a minute. GMO stands for God move over, all right? It's like for generations and generations, for endless number of years, one seed from this generation produces, the next generation produces, the next generation. That's how everything gets here into the physical world until now. Now there are companies who can buy seeds, own them, and sell them only if, and alter them and put pesticides in them and do all kinds of things to them and so on. And if nothing else, I think we at least have a right to know whether we're eating stuff that has been modified or not, whether you think it's good or bad. So, and all of these changes, if somebody would have said to me, you'll be putting coffee up your butt, and you'll be drinking, 64 ounces a day of juices, and cancer will have left your body completely, and you will have more energy than you've had, and your injury that you had in your neck, that will begin to heal, and you'll be back to running again, and yoga will be something that's become a part of your life, and you're 74 years old, and you're going to feel better than you've ever felt. I don't know how all of that happened. Any more than the first 5 books that I wrote, all of which were New York Times bestsellers. When I was writing I Can See Clearly Now, I went through each one of them and I looked at the index of each one of those books, and the name God, Spirit, Higher Awareness, Higher Consciousness appeared in one time in 5 books. And then in the next book that I wrote, you'll see it when you believe it, it's 39 times in the index. What happened? I didn't have a vision. I didn't have a decision to sit down and do this thing differently. And then the next book I wrote has it in the title. There's a spiritual solution to every problem and your sacred self. And my whole life shifted from writing about psychology, what I had studied and what became so much important part of my life, shifted to an awareness that something is moving the pieces around in our lives. And especially if you're willing to surrender and if you're willing to let go and to remove the things. So in your physical body, yes, indeed, you are doomed, but you can make choices. And this body can live healthily, it can live happily, it can live, it can make a huge difference not only to yourself, you can rid yourself of all kinds of diseases and so on. My daughter Sage wrote a book called Goodbye Bumps, when she was told when she was 5 years old that you don't have to have these flatwarts on your face, when the doctor had said they'll either have to be removed or we'll have to put a medication on them. And I said to her, honey, you have another option. And your option is to talk to those bumps and send them away. That's how powerful what you have inside of you is. And it isn't even what's inside of you, it's everywhere. And she went in, and in 3 days, they were gone. And she'd had them for years, and they were getting worse. She sent them away in 3 days and wrote a children's book about it, and now is a master's student at NYU. Where are you, Seiji? You still in the back? Anyway, I'm so proud of her, I can't even begin to tell you. So, that's the preamble, all right? We also have the same options in the rest of our life, with everything that is taking place in our life. The reality of the infinite is so terrifying to the flimsy illusion of the finite self. The individual person, we can't even grasp the experience of the absence of our individuality and to know that who we are is God. That deep within us, this intelligence, this I am presence, it's in every single one of us. You know, when Moses was on Mount Sinai and he was speaking to God in the form of a burning bush that was not being consumed. This is all in the Torah, first 5 books of the Old Testament, Exodus 3:18. And God is speaking and telling him to free his people. And Moses is questioning this, and I don't know how that's possible, and who is this that I'm talking to? I'm paraphrasing, all right? and who am I speaking to? What is your name? And in the only place in all of the spiritual literature, the name of the source from which we all originate, to which we all return, is given. And he is told, you are to go and free your people. And if they question and ask who is sending you, my name is I am that I am, and that shall be my name for all future generations. That is my name. I am. Every single time that you use the term I am, you are using the name of God, which is what you are. That invisible intelligence that is digesting your food and causing you to breathe and opening and closing your lungs and growing your fingernails and growing your hair and doing all the things that you can just watch and observe as this physical being is all being taken care of by whatever you want to call this divine force. The opening lines of the Tao Te Ching say, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. T-A-O, the Tao. It is not the Tao. So it doesn't matter what we call this name, divine mind, God, Krishna, Buddha, it makes no difference what we call it. It's in every one of us. And if you have trouble believing that in the Old Testament, just read Psalms 82. You are all children of the Most High. You are all God's. Quote Jesus in the book of John. Is it not written in your laws that I have said you are gods? Philippians, St. Paul speaking to the people of Philippia, have in you the same mind as Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, did not consider it robbery to be equal with God. This is not a, I am God and I'm better than everybody else. This is the divine, invisible, formless intelligence that makes everything in this universe work and move from the formless to the form is within us. We have instead taken on this thing called an ego. And this ego is this false self, this belief in ourselves that who we are is what we have, and who we are is what we accumulate, and who we are is what we do, and who we are is separate from everyone else. And we believe in this, and we hang on to this, and we raise our children to believe in this, and you've been raised on it. This whole idea that you are something that is in this physical world, but as the great teachers always say, that is real, which never changes. If it's changing, it's not real. That means your body. That means everything that you own. Everything that materializes, dematerializes. So now we take the same thing that we can do with our body, which is the idea of making it as strong and healthy and listening and allowing. When John of God came into my life, I mean, what it did, and the Course in Miracles says it's either fear or love. And everything that is fear cannot be love. And everything that is love cannot be fear. John of God didn't perform through those entities, perform some fantastic miracle on me. What those entities did to me on the 28th of April, 3 years ago, was they took the fear out and they replaced, and all that was left, when you remove fear, the only thing that's left is love. That's all there is. And the love just took over. I came out of my room after what they call the removal of the sutures. I can't go into all. It's all written out in Wishes Fulfilled. I came out that morning, and two of my children were there, Serena and Sands. Is Sands here? No? I've got kids everywhere. He's in New York. I looked at them. I hadn't eaten for a week because I was told you had surgery, and surgery. The guy was in Brazil, and I'm in Maui. Come on. I had some skepticism about that. I had a medical doctor down there who had told me, she called me, Raina Piskova, medical doctor, ophthalmologist, and she said, you know, you've just had surgery. And it's no different than if you've had your spleen removed. I said, I didn't feel anything. It was just, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I dressed in white. I ate whatever I was supposed to, drank the water. I did all of the things. I came out, and I said, I'm going for a walk. She said, I wouldn't do it. I said, I am. And I got about 100 yards, and I collapsed. My kids helped me come back. And for the next week, I was in bed. I hardly ate anything, just a little soup and so on for a week. And then I had what's called the removal of the sutures. And that was a full night. That was a night I will never forget in my life. And when I came out, I was a different person. I looked at my children, and they just looked so adorable to me. I just loved them so much. I can't even describe the love that I felt for them. I took my daughter Serena, and I put my arms around her, and I held her, and my pants fell down because I'd lost so much weight for a week. She said, oh, you are so gross. What happened to you in there? What are you doing? That's disgusting. She's the one who always had the great lines, because, if I ever raised my voice or said anything that was inconsistent with what I was writing about or talking about, it was like, I wonder what she was 10. I wonder what all those people would think of Mr. Positive if they could see him here this morning. She turns to her sister, Sky, would you buy a book from someone who yells at his 10-year-old daughter? That's ridiculous. People don't even have a life. What's wrong with them? Best line I ever heard from my children ever was my daughter Summer. When she was 13, Serena was 11, and they were all sitting around the table, and we had to get ready for school. And I had to drive them all. We had 5 kids in 8 years, and 5 of them were in the same school, pre-K to grade 8, getting them all ready. And Summer looks over at Serena. It's like 6:30 in the morning. Said, "So, if you didn't have any feet, would you wear shoes?" And Serena looked at her and said, "That's the most ridiculous thing. Don't even talk to me. What do you mean if I didn't have any feet, would I wear shoes? That's so stupid. What are you saying? Go away." Summer said, "Hey, don't yell at me. I was just wondering why you're wearing that bra. That's all." So I wrote that one down because it always gets a laugh. It always gets a laugh. It's been great. It's been a great journey. I looked at my son. He just looked different than I'd ever seen before. I looked at the ocean, folks. I looked at the ocean. I live on the ocean. Thank you. The ocean looked like a bowl of love soup. The palm trees, just they were effervescent, and it's never changed. 10 days later, I was in San Francisco making a film called My Greatest Teacher, the story of how I forgave my father and changed my life. And I was staying at the St. Francis Hotel on Union Square. It was my birthday. It was May 10th. It was just a few days after this had happened. And I went downstairs and I got a couple $1,000s in $50 bills. And I went out, and all I did all day long on my birthday, my 71st birthday, was to put $50 bills in the hands of homeless people and put my arms around them and hug them. And I just sobbed. The whole day I just sobbed. It was just such a beautiful, just loving experience. They took the fear out. And that's been my life since. Truly it has. I mean, I just feel so much love. I give more away. I give everything away that I make. The government sees to it that I don't have any problem with that. I give half of it to them. But it's just been an experience in moving towards something called divine love. And it just touches me so deeply to think that there's so much fear in our world, and that we have choices even though we are doomed. Yes, our life is laid out for us. We select our parents. There's no question about my mind about that. If you follow my Facebook page, I put something on there about a week ago about a little boy that I with almost every day. He's 18 months old, and he only speaks one word at a time. But his mom, who is my personal assistant on Maui, she said to him, "What is God like?" Because I had told her about the quote from William Wordsworth. Our birth, said Wordsworth, our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. Heaven lies about us in our infancy. If you want to do an experiment, if you've got little children under the age of 2, 3 in that area, talk to them about God. Ask them what it's like. So she asked him. She did that. She just one morning said, "What is God like?" And this little boy just put his hands up like this, and she said, "Well, what is his name? What is he like?" And he said, "Light." He had never said the word before. So I put his picture, I put it on my Facebook page. We got 2,600 responses from people around the world of people who had told stories about their little children having remembrances of God, a knowing about having picked their parents. I remember saying to Serena one time when she was yelling at me about the way I was parenting, I said, "Look, if you don't like the way I parent, it's just the best I can do, then you shouldn't be mad at me, you should be mad at yourself." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because you picked me to be your father, and if you didn't like what you were picking, you should have picked someone else. I don't want to hear your shit anymore." You know, it's like, she could give it, believe me. She said, you're telling me that I picked you to be my father? I actually picked you? I said, absolutely. There's lots of evidence for that. She said, I must have been in a hurry. I said, well, when you're making important decisions like that, then you should take your time, you know. But don't be blaming me. I'm just doing what I know how to do. So anyway, all of these things came back, you know, and so I started recording. They're so beautiful, so incredible. What people have said that Dee, the woman the mother of Marcus, the little boy that she's pregnant now also. So it's like she's really having an awareness of what is happening within her, you know, about the divinity, you know, the intelligence. During childbirth, it's clear that all of life is accomplished by an unseen doer that can never be located. It's non-local. This intelligence that is bringing life, that brought you in and is doing everything for you. You've got to get so in tune with that. That's what the essence of what I'm speaking about here is. It's that we not only can make choices while being doomed about what our body is like, but we can make choices about what our entire life is like. And it's all been laid out for us. But we have course corrections that we can make along the way. And the questions are, how willing are you to listen? Like, if you read this, you'll see that I am a person who has always been willing. Donna will tell you that. I've got an interview. I mean, I would do 14, 15 interviews a day. I would stay up all night. I stayed up all night with Long John Nebel and Candy Jones on WOR, was it? WOR? Yeah, night after. I did it many, many times while he had prostate cancer. He was almost dying. And he would turn the show over to me. And the next day, my books were sold out all over the New York metropolitan area. It was like the willingness. There's something inside. You don't want to listen to your ego. Here's Tagore, the great Rabindranath Tagore, who wrote a collection of poetry called the Gitanjali in 1927 and won the Nobel Prize for it, for literature. Talking about the ego. He said, I went out alone on my way to my tryst, but who is this me in the dark? I step aside to avoid his presence, but I escape him not. He makes the dust rise from the earth with his swagger. He adds his loud voice to every word I utter. He is my own little self, my Lord. He knows no shame. But I am ashamed to come to thy door in his company. That inner ego of ours, which so dominates our lives. And we forget that all of these burning desires, all of these things that we know inside, this is my essence, this is what I'm here for, they had nothing to do with your personality. Your personality is dictated by your senses. Your eyes, your ears, what you can taste, what you can touch, what you can feel, what you can hear. And that's just a smidgen of what your reality is. You not only determine what your willingness, but how determined are you? How much determination do you have inside to fulfill what is your calling? What is it that excites you? What makes you just inside say, this is what I know I'm here for? What makes you feel good? If you call my cell phone, which you're not going to get, but if you do, the answer machine will say, this is Wayne Dyer that you reached, and I want to feel good. And if your message is designed to do anything other than that, you reached the wrong number. I suggest you call Dr. Phil. That's what it says. What makes you feel good? What gives you enthusiasm? Entheos, God. Yasm, within, the God within. Enthusiasm in Greek. What is it that just makes your heart just throb? What is it that you know you have to do but you've put aside, you haven't allowed yourself to do because of that. You have to be fearless. You have to let fear go. Fear, is Anita here? Anita Morjani? She's going to be speaking. I just love Anita. I mean, the Dying to Be Me is truly a modern classic. I wrote the foreword to it. I found that book from something that came to me on the internet. And her story is beyond anything. I mean, she was dying. She had just hours to go. And now she's cancer-free, lecturing all over the world. It's an amazing, don't miss her. Don't miss her. Fearlessness. And how much compassion do you have, not only for others, but for yourself, but most of all, love, divine love. There's many different kinds of love. There's human love, which is a love that changes and varies. I love you today, not so much tomorrow. Well, and certainly not yesterday when you forgot my birthday and you didn't do that. And it varies. It's stronger some days and not as strong the others. It's like, that's human love. There's another kind of love that's called spiritual love, which is a love that never changes, but it does vary. It's the love we have for our family, for our children particularly, and our parents and so on. You just love them no matter what they do or what mistakes they make or whatever. You can't take your love away from me. You just can't. But it varies. Oh, it varies. With your children particularly, it varies. But it never changes. That's spiritual love. The love I want to address for the rest of the time I have this morning is something called divine love. This is a love that never changes. This is a love that never varies. This is a love like the love that our source has for us. The great Hafiz, the Middle Eastern poet, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Just think what a love like that can do. It lights up the whole world. A love that asks nothing back. That's the love our source places in our hearts when we go from nowhere to now here and then back to nowhere. It's all spelled the same. It's all N-O-W-H-E-R-E. Just a question of spacing. It's the love of God. And that love is a love that I was on a tour. I was in Turkey. I took a group of people to the Mediterranean, and one of the stops was in Istanbul, and then from there we went to Ephesus in Turkey. Ephesus is the place in Turkey where the mother of Jesus lived the last 37 years of her life. And I was to give a lecture there, outside this beautiful home that has been reconstituted, and in this ancient city in Turkey, where when Jesus was being crucified, he said to John, "Please make sure that my mother is taken care of," and this is where she went. Now, this is all whatever way we have of documenting those things. All the documents point to this, and they show you all the reasons. And I was to give a lecture there. It was on the 805th anniversary of the birth of Rumi. So I was talking about Rumi and our spiritual ancestors. There she is. Hi, sweetheart. And we had to stop. We had 10 buses with 30 some people. It was 350 people, and we stopped in Turkey. It was in September the 30th. It was very, very hot, and we all had to do bathroom break. And I went to the men's room in there, and the women all went lined up. But they had this place where it was just like this gigantic urinal where you would go in, and there was a man in there who from Turkey who was passing out little pieces of paper for us to dry our hands. And the old thing came in to that's just part of the subconscious programming, which we really have to work at getting rid of. And we do it by not just thinking different, but by changing our behaviors. And as he was about to, first of all, I didn't want him to touch me. The place, you can imagine how lovely it was in this place. It was in very, very 90-some degrees and out in the desert, and and as he was handing me this, I just sort of blanched back, and then I had this thought go through my head. Oh my God. There's always somebody trying to make a tip, and there's always somebody trying to make money, and then here we are again. Even in Turkey, I have to put up with this, and I don't want it. It's like that stuff that I've carried around inside of me, that non-divine love kind of thinking that's just, I love you, but stay away from me, and then I leave, and I'm about halfway back to give a lecture that they got cameras all set up, and it's outside the home of the mother of Jesus, where she lived, and I've got these thoughts swirling around in my head, these real spiritual thoughts about, I don't want that man to touch me, and everybody wants to make money, and it's a whole rip-off world, blah, blah, blah. All these crazy thoughts going through my head as I'm about to lecture at the home of the mother of Jesus on living a divine spiritual life. So I go back. I walk back to to stop myself. See, you have to not only catch your thoughts whenever you have a thought like that, but you have to change your behavior. And my behavior shifted. I went back. I had a 20-euro note. 20 euro, it's about $30. And that's all I had in my pocket. And I went back and I took it out and I put it in the man's hand. And I put my arms around him and I thanked him for being there and offering me an opportunity to dry my hands. And I told him I loved him. He spoke Turkish. He just looked like, who's this? But it didn't matter to me. That wasn't what it was about. It was about catching yourself and coming from a place of divine love for everyone, no matter who it is that you encounter at any time in your life. And I went back and I gave the talk. And then right after that, my daughter, Serena, who was there with me, and who's just written a book, which is incredible. And guess what it's called? Don't Die with Your Music Still in You. It's my experience growing up with, she says, spiritual parents. I had to change it from weird to spiritual. She said, one of her lines in here is, what kind of a father, when you ask him something and tell him that you can't do it and it's not possible, says to you, the law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation of the thinking of things. And the law of flying was not discovered by the contemplation of the staying on the ground of things. What kind of a father is that? I heard that all the time. You become what you think about. Change your thoughts. Anyway, it's a terrific book. I co-authored it with her. She gets all the profits, though. And in there, she wrote me a letter. And I just want to share this letter with you because my friend Alex Woodard, who's written some wonderful books called For the Sender, and it's going to come up with my daughter Sky and sing a song, so I have a little break and then come back for the last half hour or so. And go into this impersonal life thing in depth. And she wrote me this beautiful letter. And I took the letter after she wrote it and I gave it to Alex. I said, look at this letter. He said, I'll write a song about it. It's called This Gift. And when she was married on July the 1st, this is the song that I danced to her with when the father-daughter dance at the wedding. So you'll hear it in just a moment. But this is the letter. It says, Dear Dad, today I sat behind you in Ephesus, Turkey, while you gave a lecture to a few hundred people who had traveled from all over the world to hear you speak. I was overcome with emotion as I saw you standing there fulfilling your dharma while touching the lives of so many. I know you as my father, but you have always been a teacher to me as well. You have taught me that the solutions to all of life's problems are inside of me, and that I only had to go within, be silent and present, and know that all is well. You never told me how to live or what to think or what to believe in. Instead, You showed me how to make each step a prayer and each word a word of love. You taught me about Rumi, St. Francis, Hafiz, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, St. Germain, Neville, and so many others. You taught me to believe in magic and miracles, and you showed me how to be in awe of the awesome world we live in. Since the time I was brought into this world, I knew that I was safe to be exactly as I was, and that whoever I was a perfect creation of God. You told me that I was God, and that it was God that looked out from behind my eyes. I learned from you that I was the master of my own fate, the creator of my own destiny. Of all the lessons I have learned from you, the thing that hit me the hardest was when you said that I am God. Could I really be a spark of God, a perfect creation put here on earth with a purpose? You say this all the time, but I've always struggled with it, especially since school and society were telling me something very different. I doubted myself. I felt inferior, and I worried that I needed to apologize to something for even contemplating this idea. I have felt unworthy, undeserving, and unsure. Although you gave me great tools, I still had to figure out how to use them on my own. Now I understand that God is love. God is beauty. God is truth. You told me I came from an infinite space of perfection and that I will return to it one day, too. Slowly, I'm beginning to understand. People love you so much, and yet, to me, you've always been just Dad. You drove me to school each morning, you taught me how to swim and to ride a bike, you read me stories, and you came to all my plays. As I've grown, you've encouraged me to trust my inner callings and go after whatever it is that excites me. You believe in me, Dad, and I love you so much for that. What do you say to someone who gave you life and then showed you how to live it? You say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I gave that to Alex. When are you, Alex? Where's Alex? Oh, when are you performing?
5:30 today.
5:30. Don't miss it. It's unbelievable. You definitely don't want to miss it.
Sky tonight.
And Sky tonight
At 8:30 at Rockwood, which
at
is a concert hall.
8:30 at Rockwood tonight, someplace. Music hall. So let me get up. Let me go over here. Hi, sweetheart. What is your name? This is my daughter Sky, who has a brand new CD. And where do you want me to sit?
Wherever you want.
Okay.
Well, you sit wherever you want.
All right. You're right. I'll sit here.
Sit next to your daughter.
Thank you. This is Sky, and Sky has been singing on stages with me since she was 8 years old. She's now, what, 45, 46?
50.
You look great.
Doesn't she? They composed this letter, and it's on her new CD, and it's called This Gift. And this is the song based on that. It's the song that I danced with Serena while Sky sang on Maui on July the 1st. And now she's pregnant. Can you believe that?
She's going to kill him for telling all of you.
Yeah. Anyway, Sky Dyer, my beautiful, beautiful daughter, who I love so much. Mwah. Thank you, honey. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Thanks, man.
As always, I love you.
I love you too, man. Oh, boy. Okay. So my kids say, get your shit together, Dad. So here's the thing. We come into this world and we're raised to be ordinary. We're raised to get along, we're raised to fit in, We're raised to be good citizens, raised to pay our bills, pay our taxes, do the right thing, be good people, and then we die. It's not enough for me. That's ordinary. If there's anything, if you haven't seen Pippin, go see Pippin. Because it's about extraordinary. It's about what extraordinary really means. And it doesn't mean about how much you accumulate and how much stuff you get and who you're better than and all of that. The story of Pippin and how they do it here on Broadway. I mean, I've been to Broadway many, many times, lived in the city for many years. I've never seen anything like it, what they do on that stage. It's just astonishing. And the glow, it's 2 days ago, I'm still feeling it. But it's just about this idea of, okay, this is ordinary, folks. And this is extraordinary. That's up here. And extraordinary comes from our concept of ourself, and so does ordinary. What is our concept of ourself? Our concept of ourself is everything that we believe to be true. And in order to be able to see everything that if you're living at an ordinary level of consciousness here, then you got there by everything that you believe to be true. In order to get from here to here, you have to literally change things that you have believed to be true. And for most people, like 1 in a million or maybe a few 100,000, they're not willing to do that. Just the idea of it means you got to change things. You know, Mark Twain once said, "It isn't the things that you that you don't know that get you into trouble. It's the things that you know for sure that just ain't so that gets you into trouble." And so many people believe things to be true that just ain't so. They just don't have an awareness inside of them that they have a capacity to move to this level of consciousness. Back in 1978, after I had written 2 books, Erroneous Zones and Pulling Your Own Strings, and they had remarkable success, I was invited to go to Vienna, Austria, to speak to a group of people called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. It was the same day that I left. The next day was May the 8th, 2 days before my birthday, remember it well. I spoke, right around the corner from where I'm staying, at Carnegie Hall. Because it was just something I wanted to do. I just said, we're going to rent Carnegie Hall and see who comes. And I write about that, and I can see clearly now. It was just one of those dreams, to walk out onto that stage with all of those balconies and just do what I'm doing now, only at Carnegie Hall. The next day I left for Vienna. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just know that it was an unpaid thing to do, but it was an amazing opportunity to be in Vienna for a week. And it's called a university, and you speak to presidents of companies. You had to be under the age of 50 to be the president of a company. And so I went there. One of the people that I spoke with there was on the same program with me, was the Vice President of the United States. I mean, it was very prestigious. It was Walter Mondale at that time. And they put me on a panel. And the panel that I sat on to speak to these 500 or so presidents was Virginia Satir, who was a family therapist, very well known. I was honored to be on the same panel with her. But they also put me on a panel with someone who was an idol of mine. When I had now left the university, but when I was a doctoral student back in Michigan, I read his books. I made all of my students read them. When I taught at St. John's, every student, and there's probably some of my students from St. John's here in the audience, there usually are, required reading was his book. And I was so humbled and so honored because the only reason I was there is I'd written a couple of books that just turned out to be huge bestsellers, and my name was known. I was appearing on The Tonight Show regularly and things like that, and they asked if I would come, and so, but the man who sat on the panel with me, his name was Viktor Frankl, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which if you haven't read it, all my children have read it. Logotherapy, meaning, finding meaning in your life. In 1939, he was taken from his home in Vienna. He was a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, and he was put into a concentration camp, a place called Auschwitz, and later in Dachau. Both are places that I visited because of my awareness of Dr. Frankl. Everyone in his family, except one sister who emigrated to Australia, was killed at Auschwitz. Everything that he owned was taken from him. And all of this took place between 1940 and 1943, when I was on this planet, when we were putting human beings into ovens. Such was the level of our consciousness at that time in our world. And I just sat next to him. I was just in awe that I was even on the same stage with him, talking to him. And one of my books, Your Erroneous Zones, had been translated into German at that time. It was called Der Wunderpunkt, Your Wondrous Points. And he had read it. I couldn't believe it, that this brilliant man had read it. And we went to lunch afterwards, after all of us talked. I just mumbled, I think, through the talk. I just was so in awe. And he told the story in there of how they were given a bowl of dirty water with a floating fish head, and that was their protein, sometimes for 4 or 5 days. That's all they had to eat, was a floating fish head in dirty water. And he said the people who couldn't find beauty in that perished. He said you had to be able to, he said to me, and I never forgot it, and when Immaculee Ilibagiza, who went through another Holocaust in 1994 in Rwanda, that I also wrote the foreword to her book and found her and published her and so on, I made her read that before she did any more writing. By the way, she will be with me along with Anita and Scarlett Lewis, who lost her son at Newtown, Connecticut, in a program called I Am Light on Maui, January 25th, I think, and 26th. It's an entire weekend. I would love to have you come. It always sells out, so if you'd like to come to Maui at the whale time. And these are 3 just saints, as far as I'm concerned, on our planet today. 3 women who can teach about light, internal light, better than I can. And Viktor Frankl went to lunch with me, and he said to me, he said, Wayne, you're young. I was 38 years old. He said, know this. He said, when you are challenged by something over which you have no control, you are then challenged to change yourself. And if you can't change yourself, you will not survive. And changing yourself means changing what you have come to believe is true and elevating yourself to a place where there is a new reality. One of the things that all of you have probably been trained to believe and is programmed into your subconscious mind is that God is something outside of you. It's an external concept. Even though the scriptures are filled with references to it's all within us, that we are all sparks of love, sparks of God, and that God is love. And he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in me, and I in him. And with God, said Jesus, all things are possible. Now you tell me what that leaves out. All things are possible. that kind of a knowing. If you believe that some things are possible, if you believe that you can't make this happen, if you're not fearless, if you're not willing, if you're not determined, if you're not compassionate, if you don't have divine love in you, these are areas where you have to move to. When I went back in Turkey to the bathroom to talk to the Turkish man, I went back because I had to correct something in me. I had to change something that I had been carrying around in me about what our world is like, and be able to see love even where it doesn't seem to manifest. Here's what the scriptures say. I think I have it here. I do, I know I do. Oh, maybe I didn't bring it. Oh, yes, I did. There you are. Thank you, God. Just shows up. If you love those who love you, what virtue lies in that? Even the morally weak love those who love them. And if you are good to those who are good to you, what virtue is there in that? Even the morally weak do that. Love your enemies. Be good to them. Share with them without expecting anything in return. Then your reward will be rich, and you will be sons of the Most High. He is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be compassionate like your Father. That's just Jesus talking in the book of Luke. That kind of love. Whereas if I had an orange up here and I were to take this orange and I were to squeeze this orange as hard as I can squeeze it and ask you what'll come out, as I did a little 9-year-old girl in Toronto one time, and she said, juice, of course. I said, yeah, but what kind of juice? I mean, you're not going to get apple juice, are you? You're not going to get pineapple juice if you... She said, no, orange juice. I said, of course. I said, but why? And she just stood up and she said, because it's an orange, and that's what's inside. I said, well, that's the right answer. Now, if we extend that metaphor to you, and someone squeezes you and puts pressure on you, says something about you that you don't like, finds fault with you, and out of you comes anger and resentment and fear and hatred and bitterness and tension and anxiety, is it because of who did the squeezing? Is it because of the instrument they used? Is it because of the timing? No. It's because that's what's inside. And if what's inside is love, which is what you came from, and my God, we must be like what we came from. And if we're like what we came from love, and we return to love. This, I know. This isn't something I think or wonder about. This is something that I know. And when you have that, that awareness within you, that moving to extraordinary in your life means changing your perceptions of yourself and changing what you've come to believe are true about who you are and what you're capable of. And once you know that who you are is not this body that you're in or any of the stuff that you own, that who you are is connected to everything and everyone in this universe. It can't be any other way. And we're just a tiny little speck in a big planet, in a huge Milky Way galaxy, in a universe that never, ever ends, and never, ever, ever can end. Because inside of each one of you is something called a soul. And the soul has no form. It has, you can't get a hold of it. Can any of you go in there and find this thing inside of you that I've been speaking about, this non-local, I had a, well, I won't do it. This soul, this thing about the soul is that it is not finite. See, your fingers are finite. This watch is finite. This hat is finite. It's finite because it started. How did it start? William Blake said, everything that now exists was once imagined. Which means that if you want something to exist, you must be able to imagine it. I went up to visit my daughter Tracy in Minneapolis a year or two ago, and I asked her to because I swim every day and I like to run every day and just take care of this body that I'm in. And so she got me a pass to go to this health club that she belongs to, and I'm swimming, going back, and every time I'd swim this way, and then I'd turn around, and on the wall, it says, and I couldn't stop reading it because I'd had my eyes up, looking up there, and every time I turned around, and I swam for an hour, it was, if you want to accomplish something, you must first expect it of yourself. It seems so simple. But the question is, what do you expect of yourself? If you can't expect greatness of yourself, if you can't expect to keep this body that you're in perfect shape, if you can't expect the great talent, I mean, Sierra, to take the microphone and sing Wishing You Were Here, and I didn't ask her, she didn't even know I was going to do that. She just belted it out. It's just there. What do you expect of yourself? And if you expect to be able to do that, then who could tell you, I don't even know Sierra that well, how many endless hours that she has spent practicing that and doing that and watching the two of you guys together. I mean, Norm, the same thing. It's just, if you expect it of yourself, then you have, nothing is difficult. People will say over and over again, well, that's very hard. It's only hard if you believe that it's hard. If you have that expectation for yourself, so it's like, it's understanding this interiority of yours that has no form to it, which is directing the whole play. You're just a piece of that consciousness, and the same invisible intelligence that is doing it to you is doing it to me. We're all connected to it. And if there's no place that this intelligence is not, because God didn't say to Moses when he asked him what is his name, he didn't say, Moses, my name is, I hope things work out for you in the future, you know. That's my name, and that shall be my name forever. He said, my name is, I am that, and that, and that, and that, and that. In fact, there is nothing that I am not. I am everything. There is no place that I am not. So if this intelligence is in you, it must be, if it's everywhere, it also must be in everything that you perceive to be missing from your life as well. Wow, think of that. All you have to do is reconnect to it because you're already connected in spirit to everything that exists in the universe and everyone. And when you meditate, when you go into silence, I have a meditation, an I am light meditation, that goes like this. I take a couple of these things, these crystals that were given to me by John of God in Brazil, in Abidjania. I have the triangle, I place it on my chest. I have a pink quartz heart that goes right here. And I put my attention on the word I, and that's my left eye, I. And then I put my attention, I shift it to my right eye, am, I am. And instantly, I go back to the third eye, right here, the pineal, right here, that says light. I am, and I go back to light. And as soon as it takes sometimes 20 minutes to a half an hour, but then all of a sudden, my interior screen becomes lighter and lighter and lighter and brighter and brighter, and then there's nothing that I can't do. That's what I did this morning, to see if I could come out here and just talk. Don't get all organized. Don't worry. Just can you do it? And I saw the light and the light. And when you're able to get to that place where you know that light is what you are, it's inside you. You are light. You're not the things your family did. You're not the voices in your head. You're not the brokenness inside. You're light. So think about your soul for a minute. The soul that has no form, no beginning and no end, birthless and deathless, it's not finite. And what's the opposite of finite? Infinite. Okay? Now what does infinite mean? Here's what I wrote out. The ideal of the soul, the thing that it asks for, is neither knowledge or light or happiness. The ideal of the soul is space, immensity. The one thing it needs is to be free to expand and to reach out and to embrace the infinite. Now think about this. There's an interiority within you that is formless, and it's not finite. That means that it doesn't stop any place, right? It can't stop because the minute that it stops, it's now finite. That's what finite means. Finished. Finite. Begins, ends. So this interiority of yours only wants to expand. That's what it needs to do. And anything or anyone that comes along that attempts to make it finite, to put it in a box, to tell it what to do, it's going to resist. Now, I have 8 children. Before I had any children, I had 8 theories about how to raise children. I even wrote about them. Today, I have 8 children, no theories about how to raise children. But I do know one thing about children, because I've spoken all over this planet, and every continent, and every state in this union, and every province in Canada, and hundreds of places all over the planet. I know this about children. No one likes being told what to do. You're not the boss of me. You can't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. That's not a spoiled little bratty child. What that is the soul speaking and saying, don't put me in a box. My interiority can't be stopped. It has to keep going. Everything that's infinite doesn't ever stop, like the universe that you're in. So that's where you have to go, to that interior place. It's got a theme song. It was sung by Bing Crosby and can't even remember his name. Gene Autry. Yeah, I'll sing it for you. Ready? Sorry, Sierra and Norm. You can help me out. Oh, give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Louder, let me ride through the wide open spaces that I love. Don't fence me in. Don't put a fence around me. Don't put a box around me. Once you label me, you negate me. I now must live up to the label. I must be something. You got a Dharma idea for what I should be. Don't put that on me. The one thing none of my kids will ever say is, my dad put a fence around me, told me what to do. I didn't give them curfews. I let them go to sleep when they wanted to, wake up when they wanted to. I let them feed themselves in the morning, make their own breakfast. I didn't take them off to colleges and tell them which ones to visit and so on. Go check it out. Whatever you like to do, let me know. The only thing they wanted from me was the cash. Maybe it's just the way that I was raised, whatever. But it's just this whole idea. So now, as we get close to the end here, and I haven't even started yet. Oh. I want to plug my daughter's beautiful CD, which has that song you just heard, Letting Go. And, of course, Alex Woodard's 2 books, For the Sender. Beautiful. Put them up there. So I come across a book that was sent to me by the same thing that woke me up and said, you're going to write again. Today's the day you're going to write. The same thing that opens the flowers. That same intelligence. It's like I'm now just in awe of it all, I mean, I went over yesterday to get some juice, and I meet Laura. There she is. She's sitting right there in the front row. I said, here, come in as my guest. And she's just all excited. I wanted to have her picture taken, and she calls a friend of mine, and Michael Beckwith out in California, and we talk on the phone, and I invite her to come over, and I don't know why we met, walking on the streets of New York, and on the way back, 3 other people wanted to have pictures taken or something, and it's like, it goes on all the time. Stuff comes all the time. The I Am discourses, which was the basis for Wishes Fulfilled, just showed up for me. The Power of Intention was sent to me. The Tao book, everywhere I went back in 2004 and 5, it was the Tao. I go to give a talk in Las Vegas, we go to a restaurant, it's the Tao. Stuart calls me and says, Wayne, you've got to do something with the Tao. It's like you have such a big voice and people need to know and understand the Tao. It's like, and then all of a sudden I'm writing, and then I'm living it, and I look back on it and I write about it and I can see clearly now, and it's like you just get in awe, you know. Here's what Rumi said, sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. Just get into a state of awe about this universe that you live in that's infinite, as are you. You're not this body that you came into. When we so identify with this physical world and all of that, and these things. So this shows up. It's called The Impersonal Life. It's a book that Elvis Presley carried with him wherever he went. It was the only book that he ever carried with him, and said it's the only book that ever spoke to him. And it speaks to us of an intelligence within us that he calls the impersonal. That we all have personalities, so we have a personal life. And our personal life is all of the stuff, all of the labels, all of the names, all your resume, all of it. You know, my name is, I'm white, I'm black, I'm green, I'm fat, I'm skinny, I'm tall, I'm short, I'm Serbian, I'm Jewish, I'm Catholic, on and on and on with all of the labels. That's our personality. But he said, it's not even who we are. You have an impersonal life. And this impersonal life is in everything and everywhere. And this is a book that was written in 1914, exactly 100 years ago today. And I don't bring it with me because I think if you really want to know about it, you'll find it. You know, it's like finding it. Because one of the chapters in here is called Finding Me. And this book is written as if it were your impersonal life talking to your personality. And there's, I think, 18 chapters, I think. And when I got it, it was, I just kind of looked through it. Someone had sent it to me, and I thought it just shows up as almost everything here that's ever come. It just shows up, and then you get in awe of it, like coffee enemas, you know, like juicing, like Max Gerson, like, you know, it's like all of it. It's just like leukemia, you know, because you don't want to be in a state of gratitude just for the things that are smelling good and that are working out, but you want to be in a state of gratitude for all of the other things, because it's the low points in our life. All of the things that we are able to do that move us to a higher plane are usually preceded by a fall. Some kind of a low point in our life where we're experiencing it, and then we move to this higher place and higher place and higher place. I always say, well, I was a high jumper on the track team in Detroit when I was in high school. And we used to take the bar. I was a high jumper, so I didn't jump real high because I'm white, okay? And, you know, white men don't jump too high, all right? There's a whole movie about that. But I would get down real low, and in the process of getting down low as I could, I would generate the energy to propel myself to this higher place over the bar. And it's the low points in our life that give us the energy to propel ourselves to a higher place. My wife and I separated 14 years ago. And it was like I was in the closest thing to a clinical depression for a couple of years. But out of that came the best writing that I've ever done. The Power of Intention came out as a result of being in that place. And today, my wife lives with someone else. I'm, you know, not with anyone, but I'm just, but we're as close as we could possibly be. We talk every single day. We have 7 children together. But it was that low point. And now I've gotten to a point where when I'm in a low point and something is, I stop. I become the observer. I notice it. I step back and say, there's something grand that's going to come from this, instead of cursing it and being upset about it and then adding more darkness to the darkness. Because the only thing that will bring light to darkness is light. There's no, when you walk, you know, you may have seen my thing that I did with Abraham, which is being published next month, called Co-Creating at Its Best. We did 3 hours together. And it's coming out as a book, and and the CD. And Abraham talks about, that you don't walk into a room and there's not a dark switch. There's no such thing as a dark switch. It's just light. And all it takes is just one match in a dark room, and you become someone who converts darkness into light, rather than just someone who curses the darkness. It's what we have to learn to do as a people if we're going to survive as a species. We have to figure out a way to respond to hatred with love. We have to figure it out. And if we don't, we're going to have to start over. As Albert Einstein said, I don't know what weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. We'll have to start over, start the whole process over, if we don't figure out a way. As difficult as it is, and when we see things about beheadings and so many of the things that are so part of our culture, one of the things that I've noticed in my life is that, and I got this on an ayahuasca ceremony that was so powerful, which is every time you look at an event that causes you to feel bad, you are recreating it within yourself. That hatred, that anger, that viciousness, that wanting to get, and all of that, every time we do it, that experience is recreated within ourselves. So anyway, Elvis carried this book with him, and I started reading about it. The man who wrote it, his name was Joseph Benner, and it was written in 1914, and it was written and published under the name Anonymous, because it was one of those things that we call automatic writing, like the Course in Miracles came from that, the Urantia book, both of which I have studied and practiced and thoroughly digested in many, many ways. Much of my writing, particularly lately, is what I would call automatic writing. It just flows, very much like this talk. It just flows. It just comes. It's just, and you start to trust in it and let go. I have had no alcohol in my body for almost 3 decades now, and it's because I know and understand what they say in the recovery movement. You let go, and what? You let God. You just allow. You just allow it. So I'm reading this book, and it's a letter to me from my impersonal self to my personality. And it's mind-blowing to read it, and sometimes you can only read a paragraph at a time and try to digest it. Ramana Maharshi said, the individual self is a fabrication of the mind. The real self is a non-personal, all-inclusive awareness. Who you are is impersonal. Your personality doesn't like to hear this. Your individuality doesn't like to hear this. But there can be no individuality if the same intelligence is in everything and everyone. It's all an illusion. So I'm reading this and I'm thinking, I want to know how to, and there's a chapter in here called Finding Me. And I want to know how to connect to this impersonal self of mine that's in everything that I see and experience, and in every one of you. We all share it. Because we're so addicted to our egos. We're so addicted to our individuality and our stuff and so on. So one morning, it's Friday morning, and I have a practice that I have every week. There's a woman at the bank. Her name is Cheyenne. And she has 3 children, twins and a 4-year-old, so there are 3 children under 4. Her husband has diabetes, very serious, because he has allowed himself to eat so much gluten, and I'm working with him on changing all of that. Give it 30 days, just 30 days, and then write to me and tell me how you feel. Anyway, so one of the things that I do when I go to the bank is I get cash from checks that I have, and because my kids come to visit me, and they always tell me, if you didn't give us cash, we wouldn't come. So I pay them to come and see me, and so it's Friday morning, and I'm reading this, and I'm up to the chapter called Finding Me, and I can't get into that impersonal part. It's just my ego's just in the way, you know. It's just, but I'm me, and look at who I am, and look what I've done, and you know. And And so, but one of the practices I have is that whenever we do our transaction, she gives me back whatever money she gives me in an envelope, I take two $100 bills and I put them under her keyboard. And I've never said anything to her about it. I've been doing this for over 2 years now. And I don't know if it's legal. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I mean, because there's cameras everywhere, and I don't want her to look like she's stealing money, and I want to get her into trouble. And yet, I don't even know her other than at the bank. I've never had any contact with her outside of the bank. I've seen pictures of her kids. I've met her husband, and so on. But so this is just something that I do. And then I go from there, and I go over to the cleaners, even if I don't have any cleaning. And there's a woman there named Elsie who works in this hot place in a dry cleaning plant. She's very rotund, and she's always sweating, and she's got hair growing all over the place on her face and all that. And she just always looks so sad and beaten down. And I always take $100 or so, and I just put it in her hand. I said, "This is just because I love you." And I put my arm. I've been doing this and I'm not telling you this to make myself look good. This is just stuff I do. Laura will tell you. This is what I do. I plunked $100 in her. Yes, I just met her yesterday. I said, "Just have a nice time and come see me."
I cried for 5 minutes after you left.
Did you? Oh, she said I cried for 5 minutes after. But this is just one of the things, and I've been very blessed because I can do this, and I love to do it, and it's like, and I don't want any credit for it. I'm making a point here. I don't go around bragging like that. So I'm debating about what time to get to the bank because I know the bank. I know she goes to lunch at a certain time. Sometimes she goes at 11 o'clock. Sometimes it's 12, and all of that. But I know she never goes before 10:30. And I'm debating about what time am I going to go to the bank. And the only thing that I'm debating within myself is I want to make sure that she's there, so that she gets this because I'm sure she's come to use this and depend on it. All right. So I'm back and forth. I'll go later. What if I go later? I don't know. And it's all just desiring to make sure her life is good. Finally, I just say, the hell with it. I get up. It's 9:30. And I said, I'll do the other stuff later. I'll do my coffee enema later. Maybe my kids will help me this time. What do you mean, no? I'm your father. You can't. But I did that for you and you. Never, all right. So I go to the bank. And she's there, Cheyenne is there, I do that, I go to the cleaners, Elsie is there, I come back, I've given away like $400. And I'm feeling good. And then so I'm picking this up and I'm reading it. And this is what it says in chapter 17 called Finding Me. It's just a little bit of it. So hear this. Okay, let me read it to you slow and hear. How do you connect to your impersonal highest self? The best and the surest way you may know me, because this is written from like me, meaning God or my highest self. The best and the surest way you may know me is when selfless love fills your heart and there is a strong, compelling urge to help someone, to heal their ills, to relieve their suffering, to bring them happiness, to point out the true way. That is the actual feel of me within you, pushing the personality aside, using your mind and body for the purpose I created them, as avenues for the expression of my real nature, which is perfect love, the Christ of God, the one vitalizing, quickening, life-giving, strengthening, healing, all-supplying, all-informing power in the universe. When you have a desire, whatever it may be, a burning desire, and it's around serving someone, helping them overcome their ills, that is when it is talking to you, your impersonal self. If you will but turn to me and will carefully watch for and study these impressions which you are receiving every moment of your life and learn to trust them and to wait upon and rest in me, putting all your faith in me, your impersonal self, I will guide you in all your ways. I will solve for you all your problems, make easy all your work, and you will be led among green pastures. If you will devote, now here it is, folks, if you will devote but 1 hour each day to your I am presence, which is what Saint Germain says in the I am discourses. You have an I am presence within you that you ignore. Devote an hour a day to it. If you will but devote 1 hour each day to me alone, imagining and practicing the presence of me within you, this divine intelligence that's growing your fingernails, I have promised you this, that you will not only soon, very soon find me, but I will be to you an exhaustless fount of such wisdom and strength and help as your human mind now cannot possibly conceive. And this, I'm just telling you, it works for me. And I got the mic. If you will but seek me, thus making me first in your life. Your number one relationship is not to your husband or to your wife or to your children or to whatever. Make your number one relationship to this impersonal highest self within you, making me first in your life, never resting until you do find me. It will not be long before you will become conscious of my presence, of my loving voice, speaking constantly from out of the depths of your heart. Then the great realization will come that you have found the kingdom of God and that you are walking in it, that it is right here on this earth, that it is manifesting all around you, that you have been living in it all this time, but you did not know it. And finally, when you have found the kingdom, you will likewise find your place in it, realizing now that you are in truth one of my divine attributes. You are a divine attribute of an impersonal self. And listen to this, that your work was all laid out for you from the beginning. And that all that has gone before has been but a preparation and a fitting of your human personality for that work. It was all laid out for you. You are infinite. And I'd like Sky, if you will, honey, to come up. And there's a song that when I do the ayahuasca ceremony, I've done 6 of them now, and I'm doing one next Friday. They play this song by India Ari, and I can't ever get it out of my head. The song is called I Am Light. I am light. There's no darkness in me, in my soul. And then I'll have just a couple minutes, and then we'll close. Sky, I'll sit here. Now, Sky has never sang this song before in public. I called her and I said, I want you to learn it, and I want you to sing it to this audience. And Alex had to learn it as well. God. So good.
Thank you.
Woo! That was so good. Thank you, honey. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, you got to me. Woo! All right, we just have a few moments left. The great Patanjali, 2,300 years ago, the father of meditation, once said that when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. And you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world. And then he said, dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive. And you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. You see, you discover yourself to be God. Rumi once said that I tried to find him on the Christian cross, but he was not there. I went to the temple of the Hindus and to the old pagodas, but I could not find a trace of him anywhere. I searched on the mountains and in the valleys, but neither in the heights nor in the depths was I able to find him. I went to the Kaaba in Mecca, but he was not there either. I questioned the scholars and the philosophers, but he was beyond their understanding. I then looked into my heart, and it was there where he dwelled. And I saw him, and he was nowhere else to be found. Because he said, you who seek God, apart, that which you seek, thou art. If you want to see the beloved's face, polish the mirror and gaze into that space. Because in every moment of your life, you have this choice. You can either be a host to God or a hostage to your ego. It's your call. God bless you, and thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you. I love you. That's all there is. Thank you.
Thank you for wishes fulfilled.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
My wish fulfilled.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you so much. No, I'll meet you down here, Donna. I want you to come backstage. And Norm and Sierra, come back. And I have to go. And I'll talk to you. I signed every book, by the way. I can see clearly now. Kim Omi signed them all. Serena's book. And they're all signed this morning. God bless you all. Thank you again.